Good morning. I'm here with Shelly Muzylowski Allen, a glass artist that we represent at Painting Gallery. We have now worked with Shelly Muzylowski Allen for the last 12 years, and we have recently invited her to be the curator of our invitational glass show, which is scheduled to open in mid-June. Shelly, are you here with us?
I'm here. Hi, Denise. Thanks so much for having me, and thanks for this interview this morning. It's really exciting to talk about this show.
Well, thanks for joining me. So you have been a working glass artist now for nearly 30 years, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Unbelievable, but yes.
And now in your new role as curator, how is that different for you, or exciting for you? How does that change things for you?
Well, firstly, I'm so honored to be asked to do this role. I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to share my passion for glass. I truly believe that the medium is offering such an exciting new frontier in the art world, and to be able to go into that world and handpick some people who I believe are creating such incredible works is it's just a really exciting position to be in. I love the idea of being able to draw from that world and share this with your clients and with you guys.
I would say that everybody who is going to be watching this show is in for a real treat, because you have curated a fantastic selection of artists for us. 22 artists, a few of which are teams, husband-wife teams or domestic partner teams, and we're just thrilled with the selections. How did you make your wish list for the participating artists? What special criteria did you have in mind?
Well, I wrote down a few items of criteria for me to keep myself in focus on, but truly the bottom line was I looked at people who, if I walked into a gallery from the street, who would I first walk up to? Which pieces would just grab my attention and draw me in? And then because of that reaction, I broke it down as to what that piece of artwork was offering or communicating. And that's how I made my list of criteria, which involved many layers of color, layers of texture, meaning behind the initial impact of the artwork. And just that ability to communicate something to the viewer far beyond an object, far beyond just a piece of like functional wear that glass is often tied in with.
Do you feel that your own personal aesthetic in glass influenced the decisions that you made or the selections that you made?
I had a hard time shaking who I am from the whole process and what I look for in my own work. So I do believe that it did have an effect, because it was my initial interest in the artists and their work. But I did really try to take an objective view and look at the artwork as a complete whole, like a study, and analyze all the parts of it, and feel like they would be pieces that could communicate to a broad audience. And they obviously already are. Most of these artists have had a long and successful career. They aren't new to the art world, but I feel really privileged in offering them to a new audience that perhaps is available through your gallery.
As I look at the list of artists that we're working with, and I go through their works individually, I'm impressed for two reasons. I'm impressed because everyone seems to have their own very strong visual language that is unique to them. Yet when I look at them as a whole, I can see how they would have all come together under your curatorial eye. And maybe that's because I've known you so long, I don't know, but it feels individualistic and it feels cohesive, all at the same time. Well done.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm glad you feel that way. I did try to create a body that would flow with this group of artists, and I think there is definitely dialogue between all of the pieces that will be in the show. Yeah, and as I mentioned before, these artists they're the, you know, at the top of the glass world, and they're just incredible craftspeople and technicians, and you know, with a desire to communicate to the world.
Would you mind speaking a little bit to that, maybe talking about the individual techniques that some of these artists bring to the show, things that they're employing in their work that might be interesting to our audience, and also that was interesting to you?
Well, overall, on a whole, they are all using glass as an art medium. So they're all artists. I know we tend to call them glass artists, but they're all artists, true artists in the sense of that. And a number of the artists, including myself and the people in the show, work with mixed media, and we come from a different type of art background too before we started using glass. You know, in particular, I'll mention Christina Bothwell. She's a painter. She paints on the surface of her glass, as well as employs ceramics and glass, cast glass. And her overall effect is just profound, like hugely emotional pieces that take the viewer to some, you know, inside memory or experience that they've had. So they're very, very successful with the use of a number of materials, predominantly glass. We have Martin Blank, who, to me, he's mostly a glass sculptor, but he comes from a drawing background. And when I look at his pieces, I'm brought back like into my studies of the Renaissance painters and sculptors like Michelangelo and his huge, moving, massive, visceral pieces. And that's really how Martin works. He employs his whole body. The pieces are enormous, and the amount of heat that is being emanated from these pieces is absolutely unbearable. So he wears a full-on, you know, suit, heat retardant suit to make his work, and he's often manipulating with his hands. So his work is very energetic, but it's really likened to, you know, working on a huge painting with broad brush strokes and the whole way you would move your body when you're doing that. Daniel Clayman, his work is more architectural, and he works with how light moves through pieces, and his work is meticulously engineered. But at the same time, in these, like, as much as walking into you know, a expansive foyer of a building, you feel that element of, or that quality of the human experience, of human accomplishment. It very much kind of captures your soul, very much as looking at a piece of figurative works would. So I wanted to mention him just because his work is probably the least figurative out of the exhibition.
What would you like viewers to take away from this show, Shelley?
Well, I hope that they'll spend a lot of time with the work, firstly, and I would really hope that they have an experience that's very special to them when they're looking at the pieces. I want them to fall in love with glass, and I would just really like them to be able to be transported the way that glass has that ability to transport you from the mundane, from your ordinary life, from your worries. It just takes you to another realm when you're looking at it. And I truly hope that people just, leave there feeling a lot better than they did when they walked in, and just have a really wonderful experience that they can reflect on and think about often.
Thank you so much, Shelley. Thank you for all of your efforts in helping to put this show together.
Thank you, Denise, and thank you to all the artists and the audience for participating in this show. It's just been a real pleasure to work with you in this manner also. Take care, and we'll see you in June.
Sounds good.